Okay. Once again, this is why I should not be allowed to use CSS. This looks pretty clean, right? This looks pretty clean. Doesn't that look pretty clean? You know, over here you have this going on. And whatever, and what have you. If you have like a full window of it, you know, check that out. Check that out. Neato. Anybody who's looked to the right of my screen right now should see some kind of ungodly things that I'm doing in CSS, but it gets worse. Let me delete some of these comments. We don't need these. Gotta zoom out a little bit, because what's going on here? Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I've done. You'll see here that we have 3 CSS functions nested within each other, because I want this to cleanly scale. And instead of researching like how to cleanly scale these things, I'm just using what I already have. I used Bootstrap for a lot of this website through Svelte. Though Svelte is not super a part of this conversation. So what's going on here? What's with these very specific numbers? How do I explain this in English? What I've been doing is using the calc function like a crutch in order to scale these things based on the VW variable, which gives you, based on 1 unit, it returns essentially what 1% of the width of the viewport is. So 100 VW is the entire width of the viewport. So essentially, these units allow you to scale things based off the width of the viewport, which is why this scales like this, and why this text here gets bigger, like next to the article name, but the text, you know, up here doesn't get nearly as big, because I want this to scale cleanly with the sort of row that I have here, this entry. I should be finding another way of doing this, but I haven't. Instead, what I've done is find out, based on the title, the ratio with which, I guess, like, this exact... I suppose, I wonder if it's, like, the ratio of this size container right here. I'm going to calculate it really quick to see if I can figure that out. So that's 362.5. Or let me do it the other way around. 203.9 divided by 362.5. If this is 0.65, I'm going to scream. 362.5. It's not even that. Well, maybe it's the inside of it. Maybe it's the inside container. Doesn't seem like it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But what are all these errors? What are all these errors? Holy moly. I don't know what this is. Never seen that before. .js nodes? That's not my fault. That's some Svelte stuff. I took the base, like the title for this article. I've just found a ratio between which the VW and the pixel variables have a relationship between each other, such that I can do subtraction instead of addition when calculating it in this function. And I found that to be about 0.65. So I found 4.5 VW minus essentially 4.5 times 0.65 in pixels. I found that that's how you convert these two. I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've just been like fiddling with this all day until I've gotten it to like kind of work and figured out a pattern of some kind. And it's terrible. I should just be using JavaScript, but I'm not. Instead, I'm deciding to put this all in CSS because I'm like, oh, maybe it's more compatible than JS. I don't like JavaScript. I don't like JavaScript. I don't want to use it. But also, the VW unit isn't like, that's like a more recent thing in browsers. So, why have I done this? I don't know. 3.2 times 0.65 gives you like 2.08. And then what's with this 36.853 pixels and 12.32? What is all this nonsense? Well, I realized essentially, okay, so I want the minimum here is to stop the text from scaling once that has been met right there. Once we have like essentially the maximum height of this container right here, because I have that set over here in like the, where is it, the like main container thing over here, that there's a max width to it, so I don't want it to go beyond that. But because it's not based on like the root HTML font size, it's instead based on this tiny thing that's going on here on this specific page. I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale it until it stops right there, and then I'm going to inspect the element and see exactly what that font size is, so it stops there. But then, like, oh, okay, if you zoom in a little bit, oh, you know, it's not so bad. Check that out, you know? Here's what was happening. Okay, I guess here's how I can show how terrible this is. Let me get rid of the min and max here, because this is something that I like had not been using before, using min and max to prevent these things. I was just using calc. And so if you had like a really wide window for some reason, then it would just keep scaling forever. So what am I doing? Oh, this is also part of the minimum. This is what would happen. So you, oh God, hold on. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on. So here's what would happen. You keep scaling it down, that's fine, looks fine. You keep scaling it up, but as you keep going, see, it just keeps getting bigger. So that's what the minimum part is for. We can, let's add that back in. Let's add that back in. Is that the minimum? Yeah, that is the minimum. Let's add the minimum back in. And look, that's certainly a way of stopping it from getting bigger. But what's with the max part? Well, because there's like subtraction going on here. Without it, see what happens when I zoom in? Oh, it's not that bad, you know? But as I keep zooming in, it keeps getting smaller. Like, look how messed up this is. And then if I go and I make the viewport like as small as it appears on mobile, and then I zoom in, look, it just vanishes. So I did the inverse as well, where it's like when it snaps to right here, at this, essentially what I find to be like the minimum width of a Firefox window, though I don't think this actually scales to mobile exactly. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what the max does. The max is saying, don't make it any smaller than it is right here as you see it. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is awful.